Okay, great. And Holly will be able to come in? Okay, all right. Okay. We will go ahead and call to order the November 6th meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Can I get the roll, please?
Chairman Lane.
Here.
Commissioner Sibley.
Here.
Commissioner O'Day.
Here.
Commissioner Tarrick.
Here.
Commissioner Jacoby.
Here.
Commissioner Barnard.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. Next order of business is to approve last month's meeting minutes, October 8th, which are in the packet. Do any commissioners have any corrections on the minutes or any questions? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve.
Okay?
I can second.
Okay, so I've got a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner O'Day, seconded by Commissioner Sibley. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Okay, next is report from the chair, and I am going to go out of character here and actually take a little time to make a couple of comments. So I watched the city council meeting from Monday, and I think I was really surprised when everybody in the room seemed really confused about why this moved forward, why the demolition permit or request moved forward to council and we didn't just approve it. And at first I was admittedly pretty frustrated by that. To me it seemed like the house was kind of a no-brainer landmark by, if the owner wanted to do it, we would have, I just feel like the commission would have passed that with no issue. And so the next bar up is significant. It's not insignificant, but we did talk about it a fair amount near the end of the meeting. The attorney brought up the definition of historic significance, and we chatted about that, and then that was kind of our perspective on that definition is what swung, I think, this commission, right? So to us, I think it was really clear, right? So then I started thinking about, well, okay, why wasn't it clear, right? Why was everybody so confused? Our city manager mentioned that they didn't understand why. So I went back to our minutes, which we just now approved, but we're part of the packet. And to be fair, everybody's commentary was in there, and there was a motion, but there wasn't really much more detail. And so this is where, and the reason I'm mentioning it here in my time is to suggest that we need to understand as a commission in those kind of situations, in particular, because we went against staff's recommendation. So while it made sense to us, we cannot expect staff to defend a position that they didn't take in the first place, right? And so if the commission decides to make a finding that is not supported by, or not supported by the staff report, then I think it is incumbent upon us to have our motion and findings come with a series of findings that justify why. And that was not in our staff report. It wasn't in our meeting minutes. It's not in the motion. And I think that is where, regardless of whatever the city council might have done with it, I think if there was a very clear, here's why we made the decision that we did, they would have at least had something to discuss more than how much drama happens at these meetings, which is honestly not a lot. But we didn't do that, right? And I think that, and I just wanted to say, because it's my report here, that I think that's partly on me as the chair to make sure that that happens, and I take responsibility for not having that happen, and am going to endeavor to do better the next time around. But I think it was important for me to put that out there. This is a learning experience. The council did note that this is the first time this really went through to them, and so therefore it's really the first time that we've made that determination. I think I need to be more cognizant of what we're doing and how we're communicating that to a series of people who don't spend all the time that we spend thinking about these things. And I think that's where we kind of fell short. The only other comment I wanted to make is that the length of the process would have been a lot shorter if they didn't bother to get a demolition permit. So, so if you didn't want to demo the house, you wouldn't have gone through this long process. That kind of frustrated me a little bit too, but that's okay. All right, so again, I apologize to everybody, and we're going to do better next time. That was the not so fun part of my report from the chair. My more fun part, sort of, is we do have a commissioner, Ms. Sibley, Suzanne Sibley, that's going to be leaving us, unfortunately, after next meeting, assuming that we have one. And to avoid the possibility that we don't have another meeting, we don't get to recognize her, I do want to take a moment to recognize her service over the years. I can't remember, you've been on this commission for 3 or 4 or 4 years at least, right? I mean,
It's been a while.
yeah, it feels like a while. And so we really appreciate all of the participation and activity and support and perspectives and so on that you've brought to the commission. And so I'd like to offer a certificate of our appreciation and my thanks.
Thank you. It's been great working with everybody. Thank you. Very nice.
And if Mayor Peck were here, I would be doing the same, because she's obviously not going to be our liaison next year. So if we have another meeting in December and she comes, I will do the same. All right, that's all I had on my chest tonight. We will move on to communications from our staff liaison.
Good evening, Chairman Lane and members of the commission. I did receive an update from Commissioner Norton that the traffic is still trafficking, and she will probably be here in about 10 minutes or so. Kind of related to your update on the Kembark review at City Council, I will just note also, I was advised by the City Attorney's Office not to change my recommendation, because it was not an appeal. This is a very unique process. So I was advised to basically keep my recommendation the same, and but also acknowledge that the commission disagreed with staff. So that's the approach I took. And yes, they don't get a lot of historic preservation in front of the council. So yeah, and this is a very unique process, and combined with the fact that this is the first time that they've seen this process, there was definitely a learning curve for everyone involved, I believe. That said, we do have a new council that will be starting in December, so we'll see what happens with them. I would not be surprised if there is some direction to rethink that portion of the ordinance. Just that was the sense I got. I don't have a clear direction at this point, but there was a lot of discussion about clarity, especially in the definitions, and at the same time, there's a reason definitions are that way when we're dealing with historic preservation and land development code as well, because you do need some of that flexibility. So that said, yeah, there was concern about the length of the process, but as you mentioned, if demolition weren't being proposed, it wouldn't have taken quite so long. So, but yeah, the complexity and just the need for more information from the applicant, and just making, trying to help them understand the process. And even though, this section of the code was not, the amendment happened not that long ago in legislative terms, They're sometimes short memories. So because they do go through so many things at council, so presents some challenges. So that is my update on that. You covered a lot of it as well. In terms of what we have done in the last month, there has been one certificate of appropriateness process administratively for some new storm windows on a property. My anticipation is that we will have a December meeting. The Beaupre Farm applicant has asked to have a spot on there so they can come back and discuss their updates to their historic survey, their cultural survey for that property. So I would anticipate that we'll have a December meeting. I think it would be December 4th, let's see. Yes, December 4th. Is when our next meeting is when that meeting would be. Additionally, as Commissioner Barnard reminded me, we do have Saving Places Conference coming up in February. This year it is February 11th through the 13th. I will be sending an email out to the commission about who is interested in registering so we can get those registrations done. It is February 11th through 13th. This year it is back in Denver, so no need to travel to Colorado Springs. I think that makes it a little easier for us. So I will be getting that information out probably in the next week or two so we can get a head count for that. So, and with that, that is basically my update.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Any commissioners have questions for staff? Commissioner Jacoby.
Yes, I thought on the agenda for city council, I may be wrong, also was the recommendation we made about giving planning the authority to waive fees for conservation overlay.
Yes.
Applications. Do you know how that came out?
Yes, thank you for that reminder. So the actual public hearing is going to be on November 18th. I will go ahead and tell you that will probably be a very long meeting. For right now, it looks like we're towards the end of the public hearings and there are airport landing fees ahead of us. So if you've been reading the Times Call and any of the commentary, there are a lot of opinions on these things. So there are a couple of airport related items, so it could be a late meeting. So we did a study session with council back in October. We did a study session with them on the request for waiving fees for registered neighborhood groups who are seeking a conservation overlay zoning district. So originally, Historic Eastside Neighborhood Association came to us and asked about and wanted that so they could proceed. We were advised by the city attorney's office that rather than doing a one-off, it would be more appropriate to do a code amendment to permit those fee waivers for all registered neighborhood groups. And additionally, the code would have had to be amended anyway because there was no provision for council to waive fees except under very specific circumstances, typically related to affordable and attainable housing. So they also at the study session indicated that they did not want this to be an administrative level fee waiver. They wanted to be the deciding body on the fee waivers. So they did ask about, what the approximate impact would be if, everyone who was eligible wanted to do one. I based that information, I based that estimate on our survey plan, just to kind of get an idea of, roughly these neighborhood, X number of neighborhoods. So we brought back at first reading on Tuesday a proposed code amendment. We pulled it from the consent agenda to present it to them so that we could make sure that we were in the direction we had gone the direction they wanted, simply because also we're just trying to get this before the current council since they are the ones who have been discussing it. So what we have recommended is an amendment to the conservation overlay portion of the land development code that allows city council to waive at their discretion development review fees for registered neighborhood groups seeking a conservation overlay under 3 circumstances, because council was pretty clear they wanted to have some parameters. So the 3 circumstances would be the census tract that the neighborhood is located in is below 120% of the area median income. That recommendation was made because really that was, to me at least, that indicates limited fundraising abilities. So 120 AMI, that they have written consent of at least 50% of the property owners in the neighborhood for the conservation overlay zone, because we are effectively rezoning other people's property, so there needs to be some level of consent. And then they had to be able, the group would need to be able, could demonstrate that there were clear development pressures that could impact the historic character of the neighborhoods. So council moved to send it to public hearing on the 18th. So there will be opportunity for public comment, as with any public hearing on that. So yes, been busy.
Okay, great. Any other questions for staff? I have one talking about meetings, and I don't recall if we did this already or not. The January meeting, have we rescheduled that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so Maria was able to go ahead and get this room reserved for January 7th.
The Wednesday.
Yeah,
Right,
so
okay.
unfortunately, Wednesdays are really the only days that this room is available at the same time, so.
Okay. I had a vague, once I sat down, I thought, I think we talked about this before, but I don't have it in my calendar, and I usually try to fix that, so I thank you. I just
Yes,
needed
so
a
we-
reminder, so I had it correct.
Yeah, so we are booked for January 7th in this room for
Okay.
for that meeting.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. All right. Thanks for the update. Next, we have public invited to be heard for anyone here in the public, which we don't have anybody, so we'll go ahead and close the public invited to be heard. We do not have any items for public hearing tonight, so we'll move on to new business, which is essentially the recommendations of the interview committee for the commission seats for the upcoming year.
Great. So we had a subcommittee that, I guess we'll call it a rolling subcommittee. It consisted of Commissioner Terrick, Chairperson Lane, and Commissioner Barnard. Basically tag teaming. Commissioner Barnard handled both days, and then Commissioner Terrick and Chairman Lane handled other days. So we had 2 days of interviews. We had 7 candidates that we interviewed. Total, not including the 2 sitting, the 2 incumbent commissioners. We made the decision that we did not need to interview the 2 incumbent commissioners. We did interview the 2 alternate commissioners who were applying for regular positions. So in your packet, or on your chair, and I did email these out as well, I thought it would be helpful to include a table, because it kind of helped my thought process also, of what the positions are and when the terms expire. So for this particular application cycle, we have 2 incumbent commissioners seeking reappointment, Commissioner Jacoby and Commissioner Norton. We have 1 open position that's being vacated by Commissioner Sibley. We have 1 open regular position that was vacated by Commissioner Fenster. And then we had potentially an alternate position. So we interviewed, like I said, 7 people. So including the 2 incumbent commissioners, we had 9 seats, or 9 applications to consider. So we came to the conclusion, I say global we, meaning the committee, I was just there providing input and taking notes, or input on the process, I should say. So the decision was made to recommend to City Council that we reappoint Commissioners Jacoby and Norton, that we recommend, it was recommended that alternate Commissioner O'Day move into the open position being vacated by Commissioner Sibley. There's a gentleman named, his name is Dr. Aaron Haberman. He is the chair of the history department at the University of Northern Colorado. It was recommended that he be appointed to serve to the open position vacated by Commissioner Fenster. Important note, he would also meet the CLG qualified professional requirement, which is important. We did recommend that Commissioner Henderson remain as an alternate, and it was recommended that a woman named Courtney Smith be appointed to the alternate position currently held by Commissioner O'Day. So a little bit of shifting around, a couple of new people that were recommended. So at this point, the commission needs to, if there's any discussion, you can have discussion, obviously. I did email the application packages that we received from the clerk with contact information, addresses, and all that jazz redacted. Do ask that we keep that to the commission just for privacy purposes. But wanted for you to see kind of their applications to understand kind of some of the rationale. And so the next step would be for this commission to vote on whether to recommend the proposed slate to the city council for their consideration. So the city council will do their own interviews and make their recommendations, giving consideration to the recommendations of this commission. And they would be doing their interviews and such in December. So for everyone's kind of clarification, the terms are kind of rolling in terms of when they expire. So we had 3 regular and 1 alternate terms expiring at the end of this year. We have 3 regular and 1 alternate expiring at the end of next year, and then we have 1 regular position that expires in 27 at the end of 2027. So it's done on a rolling basis. The term doesn't reflect when a person comes in. It's just the term is the term. So in some cases, much like Commissioner O'Day, you came into a alternate position with 1 year left, so that's 1 year of the term. Typically, those partial terms don't count against term limits. So it's clear as mud, obviously, and but I thought it would be helpful to put that information in a table form so folks could kind of understand what the current term expirations are, what the open term expirations are, what the new terms would be, and how that would work. And so positions being reappointed and positions with new appointments are shaded in gray just to make it clear which seats we're looking at.
Okay.
That's what I've
thank
got.
you. The only thing I would add to that is just a little more clarity on the CLG qualified professional. If you read through the municipal code concerning the makeup of the Historic Preservation Commission, because we deal with items of such a technical nature, in order to qualify as CLG compliant, we need essentially 3 people on the commission. They don't always have to be here, but they need to be commissioners that meet those CLG requirements. So that is some form of qualified professional. Obviously, I meet that standard, and Commissioner Norton, who has arrived, meets that standard. And so we needed to provide, it was fairly important that we provide 1 more person who met that standard, and there was sort of a limited pool of folks. I think we have a good one that we can recommend, which is good, but that was an important piece of this puzzle. Let's see, Commissioner Barnard.
Yes, Chairman, I move that the commission adopt the report of the interview committee.
Okay. So I have a motion to recommend the commissioners as noted in the report. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All right, so motion to approve by Commissioner Barnett and seconded by Commissioner Jacoby. Is there any further discussion? Any commissioners have anything they'd want to ask before we call a vote? Okay. Nope, then I'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Should be roll call.
What, we would need a roll
Should be
call?
Roll call, I think, yeah.
All right.
I'm assuming I can't vote.
Oh, yeah. Probably not.
Well, except for all of us.
So I would
Yeah.
have to abstain from.
Yeah,
Well, you
okay.
can vote for the other.
I'm not aware that there's a limitation on who can vote once the recommendation has been made. Obviously, there was a limitation on who could be on the interview committee. So,
Right.
but I'm not certain. I did not receive guidance that it would be inappropriate. I didn't receive guidance at all, actually, so.
Right. Well, then, I mean, and like, we can certainly be conservative about that and call a roll, because we have 4 people that, so we do have a quorum of
Sure.
votes, so we could be conservative if that were helpful to avoid any.
Well,
That-
I can just
Vote
abstain.
individually.
Right.
Right, and just abstain on
I like
ourselves.
A roll call.
Well, that's the thing. So we've got 3 candidates here who would
Yeah.
technically need to abstain.
Yes.
And so then we only have 4 people left,
So that's a quorum, so
but that's a quorum.
we're good.
Okay.
Okay? So does, all right.
So abstaining would be Holly and.
Yeah, we'd have Commissioners Jacoby, Norton, and O'Day abstaining. And do I have Commissioner, we just go ahead. This Commissioner Sibley, you in favor?
Yes.
Commissioner Tarrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett,
Yes.
and I would also vote to approve. So that is unanimous approval with 3 abstentions.
Great, and I will prepare the memo to send to the clerk, and I will get that out next week.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
And
And thanks to the folks that volunteered on that
Yes.
commission, because it did take some time.
And it was a very quick turnaround as well. So there were definitely some scheduling gymnastics that were done.
Commissioner
yeah,
Barnett.
I would just ask the staff in your report to the council to make it clear why we had 3 abstentions, so they don't think that there was a disagreement that they needed to abstain for. They abstained because of their being named as in the motion.
Right, that's a fair point, so we don't
Conflict of
get,
interest.
yes, get some confusion. Okay, well, unless there is anything else, we do not appear to have any other items on the agenda. Staff, do you have anything else that we were needing to cover that didn't show up here?
I think we've covered everything, so at this point, we're at comments from the commission.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any comments that they would like to make? Commissioner, this is why I'm always looking at you, by the way.
Don't,
Commissioner Jacob.
I don't have an off switch. That's the problem. I'm reflecting on the process we went through for 824 Kimbark as well. And my impression was, and again, we don't know who wrote the code, what they were thinking when they wrote it, but my impression was that they set a relatively lower bar for us to recommend designation without owner's consent, knowing that it would go to the city council level. And this should be a city council level decision, I think, if we are going to take away personal property rights. So I think the system worked okay from that sense, but I do agree that it's a little frustrating when the rationale we used was not clear when it went forward to city council. I'm also frustrated with the fact that this is a developer who bought a house that was built in the 1880s on Emery Street, used the same rationale to remove it and built something else. He just did it again, And we have nothing in the process to prevent him from doing it yet again, other than one additional step to come to us, then go to city council. And one thought, if we could open another snake pit, I don't know how many snake pits we need.
Apparently, I'm
Should
adept at
we-
navigating them.
Should we consider enlarging the East Side Historic District to incorporate more of these potentially important homes? And that would certain National Historic designation has more recognition. There's very few restrictions on it. I don't think there'd be a lot of I don't think we'd be battling a lot of headwinds from the folks in the neighborhood about getting this done. It may help us with our preservation attempts for future homes. Again, Kimbark is a special situation. It's not part of the neighborhood association because it's zoned differently, but it is part of the neighborhood. But the house on Emery Street certainly could have been in the historic district, I think, knowing what we know now, because since the historic district was made, a lot more research has been done, and we know of a lot more significant homes in the neighborhood. So I'm not sure how big a project that would be to enlarge the National Historic District, and I'm not sure how much that would help us in our process to retain the houses. But so I just throw that out there for discussion. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my only comment to your question about the code is that we wrote it. So that was part of our demo revisions.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. And that was, yeah, and that was back and forth. I think we would have liked the bar, yeah, whatever. That was part of the complete overhaul that we did with the demolition ordinance. Yeah.
Zoned out.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, okay, Commissioner O'Day.
I was going to say, as far as zoning, though, I believe a lot of the east side was historically commercial and residential anyway. So even though the zoning has changed, that's kind of the spirit of the flavor of that neighborhood anyway, was to kind of be a mixed use. And I was going to ask the same thing. Side note, the motel that's north of 15th that has changed their sign terribly. That's my complete editorial opinion right there. But it would be nice if we could proactively at least educate people about stuff like that. But being new to the commission, I don't know what our boundaries are and what we can do and what's out there. And that's a different kind of property because it's a mid-century, very different, not a historic district at all. So that was going to be my comment too, is does this open the gate for a lot of demolition like this too, if he's done it twice?
Yeah, I would say both of those topics would be excellent suggestions for an annual retreat, for example, because there's really an opportunity to discuss those kind of things. And so we hopefully will have that again at the beginning of the year. I think that the push to get the demo ordinance finally passed had something to do with that first demolition, which was done before the ordinance was enacted. So, again, yeah, well, yes. All right, Commissioner Norton.
Along those same lines, we had a meeting, and I don't even remember when it was now, but with the city council. Do you guys remember who were here, the closed door? Maybe I was the only one. Okay. I was like, wait, I've been on this forever.
It happened.
And I wonder, especially with the number of new city council people who will be coming on to city council, if a meeting like that again, because I thought that was very educational for them. We were trying to intersect with what priorities were with city council and how historic preservation met some of those. I think this week hurt, but I'm still smarting over that farmstead where there's now a 7-Eleven that I have to drive past every day. So.
All right, yeah, yes, that was something, I think that's an excellent suggestion, especially if council is making ruminations about trying to give staff or, direction, policy direction to make a change. I think it would be really valuable to sit down with them, with the new council, if we don't need to necessarily force that, but if they start talking about wanting to make a change, then I think the first order of business would be, can we please sit down with the commission and talk through how we got here and why? Because that was a lot of effort to get that one ordinance revised.
I will share that request with the city manager's office. I know, particularly given that the two most recent council liaisons to this commission are no longer going to be on the commission, since council member Rodriguez was term limited and Mayor Peck opted not to run for re-election. So that limits some of the institutional knowledge about what we do. I believe Commissioner McCoy does have some background, or Councilmember McCoy has background, but I will bring that up to the city manager's office and kind of plant that seed as they're working towards getting everyone brought onboarded.
Great, thank you. Okay, great discussion. Any other comments? No? Then I would entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned. I did skip the city council representative comments, but we don't have one, so I guess I should have at least acknowledged that.
Oh my gosh.